But I think what we've done well in more recent years is we've been really clear about where we don't want to go. There's often as a startup we did everything and anything for for $1, right? You just want to chase everything down. There's no such thing as ROI. You probably spent tens of thousands of dollars to win a $500 a month client, that sort of thing.
Buyer-led growth. Hey, hello, and welcome back to the Buyer-led Growth Show, where we dissect go-to-market and growth so that you can adopt a buyer-led growth strategy that reframes challenges and minimizes wasted spend. Today, we're joined by Patrick Coghlan, the CEO of CreditorWatch. Definitely an Australian success story if there ever was one. Patrick's got a really interesting career story from employee to CEO in the same organisation. So we're definitely going to explore that today. But even more interestingly, Patrick, you're a bit of a sports nerd jock. I like to feel that maybe I can reclaim some of my youthful sporting prowess, but you were a member of the Supermaxi Infotrack yacht in the 2019 Sydney to Hobart, coming in second.
Yep.
You're a support runner for the Sydney Olympics torch relay in 2000, and a self-confessed rabid Manchester United fan, which who wouldn't want to play under Sir Alex? So welcome, Patrick. Let's dive into it.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. Good to be here.
Fantastic. So, look, the little bit I know about CreditorWatch from a go-to-market perspective is you play in the credit reporting space. As a whole market, that's really competitive, and there's a couple of really dominant players. What is it about CreditorWatch that set you apart and kind of lay the scene for your journey there?
Yeah, so 13 years ago, a bit over 13 years ago, the founder, I was working for the founder, and he had this idea around providing some sort of method, software, delivery, data, whatever it is, to small businesses so they could, avoid bad debts, right? So for those of you not in the sort of credit world or issuing invoices yourself in your business, most organizations live on credit, and that can be finance, obviously going to the banks or lenders for debt that you pay back, much like a mortgage, hopefully pay back. And then you've got trade credit, whereby I might be a butcher, I want to buy off a wholesale meat supplier, they issue me an invoice, they give me 14 days to pay. So how does that wholesale butcher know that you're actually going to pay your bills, that I'm going to pay my bills? So you run a credit check. So the world and the Australian economy, every economy runs, on credit in the background. And we felt that small businesses didn't have access to the tools that the big banks and the telcos and the utilities and all the big lenders had access to. And that was really the problem that we were trying to solve. And we thought, let's go after the million or so small businesses out there with some sort of, default credit subscription service.
That makes a lot of sense. So if we want to put this into like marketing speak, really you saw that there's a massive gap in the market and positioned yourself in that space. So tell me a little bit around how that's played out. Like, did you run into the bigger players at this end of town, or did you kind of have an open field?
Yeah, look, in the early days, you'd like to think that we had this, really succinct strategy, and I thought, gap in the market, here we go, there's a million businesses, let's, how hard is it going to be to go and get them all? But really, we were sort of feeling around in the dark, and we created a solution to allow small businesses to, run a basic check and hopefully help them get paid. We really didn't come on the radar of the competitors. It was a duopoly, arguably still a duopoly, plus us in the market now. For a while, I think they probably saw who we were and dismissed us. There was, I remember a famous line from someone there saying, "Oh, it's a $20,000 website that we could replicate." So we really didn't come onto their radar for, I would say, closer to 5 years rather than the first couple of years.
That's brutal. The $20,000 website, but hey, I love a challenge and being able to give an uppercut as the underdog. So
yeah, it sits with me, but yep. I'm pretty competitive, so it's a nice it's a nice memory to fuel the fire.
Definitely. In your investor reports, just make sure that you've got that line there. Once we were just a $20,000 website, and
That's
now
it.
60%. Okay, so why don't we dive a little bit into, so you've been attacking this, like the SMB market, the million businesses. You've been doing really well. What is it that sets you apart from your competitors, specifically around the go-to-market? Like, how is it that you've differentiated?
Yeah, good question. So we came into it wanting to create a subscription business. SaaS probably wasn't big and sexy back then, but we felt it had to be just an easy offering for small businesses to understand and budget towards, right? I think back then it was $24 a month. It was, it was cheap as chips, and it was in our mind a no-brainer. So that subscription model was brand new, and I would like to think that no one, globally is doing subscription credit reporting solutions. And then the other thing was just to make the website really simple to use, right? Self-serve, no need to speak to customer service unless you needed it. We always thought, what's the lowest common denominator? How do we create it so the most uncredit savvy person can do it? And no disrespect to small business owners, but none of them go into business going, this is my credit and debt collection plan.
Oh, definitely. Like, they're there to solve a problem. All the stuff around business honestly, it gets in the way. Like, that's not their core mission, to meet compliance and regulation requirements, right? So
yeah,
anything you can do there. So what were some of the challenges that you kind of came up against as you took this strategy, and maybe foreshadow a little bit around this recent change around the updates to strategy around product, and some of the latest things of pool economics?
Yeah. So we didn't have any data. So a credit report relies on historical data. We obviously hadn't been around for a minute, so we had no data. So that was one of the challenges. So we have to think through that. What can we provide forward looking? So we created monitoring and alerts, which effectively, allowed you to find out that the company was getting into trouble. So as we were receiving data on a daily basis, we were then able to push that out to our customers, and that was quite industry leading, I would say, or at least we put more emphasis on it. The other thing we did is, by starting way down low in the small business world, it gave us this huge ability to just continue to move up. Yep. To larger organizations. And we've done that every year successfully for 13 and a half years now. So that's been really important, capturing data from a huge chunk of the market that actually never used credit reporting. So it's totally unique data, and that's actually the name of our boardroom, which I cop a little bit of grief for because it's a little bit lame, but it is. Unique data is what sets us apart. So as we grew and scaled, we obviously targeted larger and larger organizations who were a lot more, they were a lot tougher to sell to because we were new, and they wanted a lot more than what a small business owner would want, because we were selling to, actual specialist credit managers. So as we got bigger, we realized we weren't able to, control sort of the product roadmap and think, really innovatively as much as we did when there were, 5, 10, maybe 20 of us. And to be honest, I wasn't a big believer in this concept of a product manager, and it was probably fairly new back then, but now is, they play a really integral part. So we actually only developed and put together a formal sort of product team maybe 2 years ago, maybe a touch longer, but we only really formalized it recently from a company history perspective.
So that's interesting. Like, certainly coming myself from the tech world, product managers are everywhere. So how did you take adding in a product management layer and all the good and the bad, or maybe not bad, but the different that brings, and integrating it in with the go-to-market and the sales side of things?
Yeah, so we were obviously very sales led There was a lot of vaporware sold in the early days that the developers then just had to build for us when we got back from the the prospect meeting. It forced us to take our time to plan more, and I think it happened at the right time. We were of a size where we couldn't just spit out a quick new feature or product that would drive revenue growth in a meaningful way. Gone were the days of a quick feature that would help us still maintain 50 or 100% year-on-year growth. We really had to think through it and make sure that we were developing something for the masses or for a new part of the market. And when you're trying to run the business, grow the business, it's hard to do that and then also think bigger picture from a product innovation perspective. So we understood there was a need for it, and I'm certainly really happy that we've gone down that path because we've got a fantastic product team, and it means that we can focus on things that I might be better at, whether that's sales, marketing, and then the others that have been with me through the journey longer term. None of them came from a product background, so we've the challenge is relinquishing that day-to-day sort of thinking of it. You've still got the vision, but someone needs to have their own vision and also turn that vision into a reality.
Yeah, look, definitely. Scaling introduces all sorts of problems. What would the top two challenges be? Like as you continue to move up market, like the SMB market is huge, certainly in Australia, but there's such variety. So like, what are some of the challenges and lessons you've learned along the way?
Yeah, look, people's always been at the forefront of my thinking and the leadership's thinking. As you go from 10 to 20 to 50 to 100, and we're pushing 200 now, you lose touch with a lot of the workforce. You don't necessarily know everyone's name or necessarily what everyone's doing. So that's really important. So how do you ensure that they understand where we came from, what our roots were, and what we're trying to achieve? That's a big thing because you need belief, and I think we've got a bit of work to do on that. We do a pretty good job, and we get really good feedback from new starters, but we can do a better job of that. And then I think the other challenge is where do you continue to invest and innovate? Do you go after and brand new markets that you don't play in at the moment? Do you develop brand new products that don't really exist in your suite and probably aren't core to your suite? So that for us in the last sort of couple of years, but particularly the last 12 months, we've made a real concerted effort to have a clear strategy on exactly what we want to do.
So that's a challenge faced by lots of businesses. Often you see the mistake of trying to expand either market or product too early. So how did you know the time was right? And what sort of process did you use to determine, should we go up market? Should we add new products? Is it a little bit of a mix, but going slower? Like what was the strategic decision-making process there?
Yeah. So look, if we look at the market and how we've moved through that, we've really naturally had larger clients come to us and say, "Oh, we've heard about you. Can you give us a demo? Can we use your solution?" And that's we've been almost pulled up market, which is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
And all there's bigger spend and they're coming to you already as somewhat believers in the product, which is good. So, but we've really stayed in that same market from small all the way up to some of the biggest companies in Australia. So that naturally happened, which was good. And we, whenever we got a sniff of knowing that our product was good enough, then we would double down with salespeople to really penetrate into those bigger sort of markets. From a product perspective, we were really a single product offering for a very, very, very long time. But there were a couple of sort of complementary products that we would operate in parallel to where we were. So we've created an onboarding platform. So we would speak to customers, our customers, and say you've got to run checks on your debtors, on your customers. They'd say, how do we onboard them and automate that? So we thought, okay, we'll develop something. So we created a really beautiful online customer onboarding product to help them onboard it. It's white labeled, and that runs the checks automatically and adds them to the monitoring list. And, it's all about automation and efficiency. So again, very, very customer led in that regard. But I think what we've done well in more recent years is we've been really clear about where we don't want to go. There's often as a startup, we did everything and anything for $1, right? You just want to chase everything down. There's no such thing as ROI. You probably spent tens of thousands of dollars to win a $500 a month client, that sort of thing. But being able to say no, and being able to say no, that's a product or a market that we're not going in, has been really powerful of late for us.
So look, I really like that acknowledgement that sometimes it is saying no. That there's definitely this saying about no is temporary, yes is forever. And once you've entered the market, it's really difficult to extricate yourself while still maintaining your position. So in terms of the saying no, like was there much internal pressure around that, or was it pretty universally accepted and agreed that was the right way?
There's probably been different iterations of it over the years where, being sales led, we would say yes to things, or we would develop things and only sort of sell them once or twice, to one or two customers. And then, upon reflection, you go okay, well, we got that money in, that's great, but no one else is buying it. Probably should have thought through that a little bit more, but you're just running at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yep.
But then more recently, we went through a formal sort of 3-year strategic review and planning session over sort of 12-week period. So it was really, really comprehensive, and the first sort of formal one that we've done internally, and that through that we made it really clear about where we could play but didn't want to, and or places that we might get into but not right now. So we actually labeled it. We talked about it, and it was actually quite easy, and we came up with a fantastic headline, which is core then more, right? Just focus on what we're really good at, go after more later on. And I think what's important about that is it's, you can do it. I can do an hour presentation to the company on strategy, but the one thing that they will remember is that headline, core then more, and it's really resonated and stuck within the business.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice and I hate that word. I think that's an eloquent way to say let's keep focus on the North Star metric of why are we actually here? How do we measure the success of the purpose of CreditorWatch? Going back a second to the onboarding process, one of the biggest areas where SaaS in particular fall down is in the onboarding process. And we've tried to address that with customer success and it's being more than support, but there's still it's people, process, and technology, right? It's never just one in isolation. So, how much difference have you seen in the activation rate and longevity now that you've really focused on the onboarding process?
Yeah, look, we're actually going through the process at the moment to make sure that we've got it right, and we may make a fairly sizable shift in how we, transition and a prospect once they've signed, who is responsible for them, who's talking to them, both from a marketing, sales, and product perspective, mapping that out. When you get to that certain size, you can't just rely on everyone knowing about it in your head. You have to sort of document it, which is, when you've been in a startup 13 years ago, it's very different to what we were doing back then, right? With hopes and dreams. So there's a huge amount of effort that goes into that. And I think we've got this renewed focus on the customer and doing right by them and knowing that you do right by them upfront, do the hard yards, then obviously the longer term payback is really good. They become advocates, and then they obviously stick with you and you continue to service them afterwards. So onboarding is it is extremely important, because if you obviously get it wrong, then you're some of those key SaaS metrics don't look so good when you're reviewing your customer churn.
Yeah, look, definitely. In terms of SaaS metrics, what are the top 3 that you really focus on as the guiding principles for an indicator of success?
MRR has been our North Star for as long as I can remember, to be honest, and remains that way. NPS is something that we introduced probably about 18 months ago, and there's a renewed or continued focus on it. And we're making sure that we really embed that into the business. And then churn is probably the other one. I think the one thing that we could have done better, and we're sort of playing catch up, is ensuring that the data that allows us to measure LTV and CAC and et cetera. We don't have the best systems internally ourselves. It's there, but you got to work hard to get it. So that's something that we're working on as well, so we can really start to visualize and dashboard all of those other key SaaS metrics.
Cool. So you're talking about the core then more over the next 2-3 years. What's the next stage of growth for CreditorWatch?
So we're 7.5 months into our 3-year strategy. We're on target from a revenue perspective. Product and engineering is powering along, really nicely. We've just brought forward investment from FY25 to get more bums on seats and help us with that growth. Effectively, we want to do about 2.5 times revenue growth in those 3 years.
Okay.
That was kind of the headline number. Well, the headline number is 100 mil in recurring revenue. So that's the big one. But yeah, it's about 2.5 times. So they're chunky goals to go after. And we're probably looking at a doubling of people. Not that that's a metric we're measured on, but that's you grow with the people side of things as your company grows as well.
Look, 2.5 times growing to 100 mil is a great, big, hairy, audacious goal.
That's it.
So, in that, you mentioned that a lot of your growth has been word of mouth, but complemented with like a real sales-led approach.
Yeah.
Like how are you executing? Like is it just doing the same and doing more, or are you like expanding your go-to-market to reach that growth rate?
Yeah, it's been very sales driven. I wish word of mouth was a bigger part of it, but it's been very sales driven. We've got a huge sales team of BDMs who are obviously prospecting and hunting themselves, and then a really big account management, customer success team too. We're talking, I think we're up to maybe 70 or 80, and we'll continue to invest over the next 2 or 3 years. We know the market's really big, so we're happy to continue to do that. But we'd love to get more efficiency from the sales team. We want to feed them obviously more leads, so they don't have to do as much prospecting, for example.
Okay.
We want to be able to ensure that it's easy for customers to self-serve where necessary, but also speak to a human if they need to. So I think there's a huge amount of operational efficiency that we're looking to get in the next financial year. That'll be one of our key metrics that we work our business towards.
Okay. And so like there's a lot of buzz in the last couple of years around like ABM, account-based marketing. Is that something that you're looking to add in to like support sales, or is it really like, here's your call list in your territory and report back to your sales manager and give us your forecast?
Yeah, look, I think on the hunter side, it really is. This is, you operate in New South Wales and this sort of size business. It's I want to say old school, but we've got a fantastic brand, a fantastic product, and it's very mechanized, right? We know what a rep needs to do when they come on board. We know how to onboard them. We know how to get them to up to speed with the product and the pitch. And then of course we know our metrics in terms of, number of meetings and demos and prospects, et cetera. So that has been unbelievably well done for the last probably 8 or 9 years. And that's what's got us that huge amount of growth. So it gives us confidence to just keep putting more and more people into the machine, but that will certainly get more efficient and easier for BDMs over the coming sort of 12 to 18 months.
Awesome. And so for those watching at home, what is the 30-second CreditorWatch pitch? Why you?
Look, if you're offering any sort of credit, be it finance or trade credit, whether you're using a credit reporting solution or not, you will not get the sort of data anywhere else that you could get with CreditorWatch. The data that we give you to make confident decisions will naturally result in, either lower overdues, less overdues, and faster payment, less bad debts. So if you want to get paid, use CreditorWatch.
Look, I think everyone wants to get paid. No one wants to chase people. But what's a taste? Like, what is part of that data that you've got that no one else has that like really makes it easier for Australian businesses?
About 90% of our customers use us exclusively. So the data that they share with us isn't accessible anywhere else. And we get this really beautiful network effect of, small, medium, and large businesses using us, and we understand how they're trading with their debtors. And often what you find is you have a problem payer, and 5 or 6 CreditorWatch customers are dealing with them. They're flagging that problem payer is a problem payer, and then everyone else within the network gets to benefit from that. So it's the sort of thing that as we get more customers, we talk about, we talked about BHAGs, talk about flywheels.
Yep.
It's really simple in our mind that the more customers you've got, the better your data, more customers you've got. It's literally a 2-point flywheel for us.
Yeah, nice.
And obviously, then as you get more customers, you've got more money in a better product and therefore more customers, and et cetera. But really, it is simple. The more customers we have, the better our data is. The better the data is, obviously, the better the decisions you're making, which leads to more customers.
Excellent. And what are the top 3 things that like you've learned over the last couple of years that for any other CMO, CEO, chief product officer, head of strategy, like what's a lesson that you've learned that you hope that you wish the others wouldn't have to?
Yeah, good question. I think spending time on like planning and strategy, I think we've found that we're spending more and more time on planning and strategy as an executive team at the moment, and there's calls for more of it from the team, which I'm really supportive of. Don't think of what you could be doing in the office or how many calls you could be making if you're a salesperson, or how much code could be written if you're an engineer or CTO. That planning and strategy, once you get to a certain size, is extremely important. Having really good people around you. So as I guess it's probably for the CEOs or the founders out there, having people around you that are far better at their job than you could ever be makes your job that much easier as well. You want people coming to you with really, really good ideas that you're either not thinking of, or they're picking up an idea that you've got and making it 10x what you could have thought up yourself. So I think investing in really good people is extremely important. Did you ask for 3? I
did, but those 2 are pretty good. Like I really like, and one of my mentors said this: A players hire A+ players. Hire people and get out of the way. So I love that. Where can people find you if they want to reach out, personally or professionally? Yeah,
LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I think it's a great medium when it's used the right way. But that's really it from a work perspective. But they can also hit me up via creditorwatch.com.au as well.
Nice. And is there any more super maxis on the horizon, or you've been there, done that, now it's Everest?
Oh, I would love, I'd love to do it again, but I think I was just fortunate enough to get invited. Our parent company, or our previous parent company, owned it, and the chairman asked if I wanted to do it, and it took me. I probably slept on it because the thought of doing it is quite full on and scary. But I was like, can't say no to this. But as a bit of trivia, it actually, the same boat under a different brand won the Sydney to Hobart last year. So we came second in 2019, and then it won Sydney to Hobart in a dramatic finish last year. So that's pretty exciting.
See, I think that's far more the race stops the nation than the Melbourne Cup. So it's far more interesting.
It is.
No, that's really cool. Well, thank you, Patrick. Really appreciate you taking the time. If you're a business in Australia or anywhere really that needs some credit knowledge in the Australian market, hit up Patrick and CreditorWatch. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining us and just talking a little bit around the journey of growth. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's always good to sit down and as I said at the beginning, reflect on the journey that you've been on and what has worked and what hasn't worked, and hopefully that makes it a little bit easier for one other person out there.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone, and tune in next week, and we've got more in store. Cheers. Thanks everyone. You've been listening to the Buy-Led Growth Show, where we help you scale without wasting spend.